Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much, much more. I'm Chris, and last night we received the finale for What If, a Marvel and Disney Plus TV series that had a different approach to how it reached out to its fan base. That being said, we have a lot of questions that maybe need answering and maybe don't, and that brings us to the conundrum of the series. But in this video, we'll go over everything you need to know about the finale and what it could potentially mean moving forward into the big scale of the MCU. Consider subscribing if you love to stay up to date on all major movie and television news happenings. We're covering them here daily on the channel, so also consider turning on that notification bell so you don't ever miss an upload. Also, while I have your attention, let me know down in the comment section how you rate What If as a series and how you rate the finale. Very curious to see what you guys out there think. This is one of those Marvel projects that is really kind of open-ended. Whereas with other projects, it's yes, this is going to be great, or we're unsure. We usually seem to move as a unit in our ideology of what is a good Marvel project and what is lacking considering the standard that they have given themselves. Whereas with What If during the live watch party last night, I saw a divide on people who really liked it and people who thought it was kind of boring. So let me know where you stand on that as well. So moving into the finale, we had a really cool episode 8, which was the second to last episode, where we found out all of the universes were going to collide because of Ultron. Episode 8 being titled, What If Ultron Had Won? We then saw he took over the entirety of the universe where he existed after gaining the Infinity Stones and decimating everybody in that universe. He then moved forward and realized there were other universes. He opened the door to the multiverse, even meeting the Watcher, and just started destroying everything. Because people living peacefully and happily, or not peacefully and unhappily, was bothering him, and it all needed to be silenced. So he's going from multiverse to multiverse, destroying and decimating everything in his path. Which brings us to the next and final episode, episode 9. Whereas in the finale of episode 8, or the last moments of episode 8, we find out that the Watcher went to Doctor Strange from the earlier episode, so Strange Supreme, and asked for his help since he had actually been frozen in that timeline in the little protective bubble, holding himself from the universe falling and breaking in on him. So, this character's still alive. They then go around in the beginning of the 9th and final episode collecting other Avengers, and they were called the Multiversal Avengers. The Avengers of the Multiverse. Such a cool idea, and we saw characters from throughout the entire series brought together with Strange Supreme leading them as they went off to defeat Ultron. Ultimately, they do defeat Ultron, and we get a really cool sequence seeing that Strange Supreme remains trapped, and he has with him trapped Killmonger, who was of the Multiversal Avengers and tried to turn on them at the end, and Zola, who was used to defeat Ultron. They put his virus into the Ultron character, and then he tried to turn on them as well. Killmonger and Zola, then fighting for the Infinity Stones, were trapped and are now held with Strange Supreme, where he is trapped. So it's a very big sell for all of these characters who made a lot of mistakes along the way trying to gain supreme power. And that's how it ended. The other characters will return to their timeline except for Nat, who was the only survivor of her universe, the entire thing having been destroyed by Ultron, and she was allowed to be returned to a different universe. Now, we're not 100% sure which of these multiverses she was actually introduced to and she was given to. However, the one she was in did not have a Nat. So, very interesting. She was dropped in the middle of a fight with Nick Fury and Loki, so it is very possible that it was the episode where we saw that Loki was coming to take over Earth because they had killed Thor. Then we move into the final moments, which is of course the mid-credit scene, where we're waiting for potentially a big, huge connecting moment, which, to be fair and honest, the MCU is known for, these post-credit scenes revealing big, huge connecting, bridging moments, and I think the fan base, especially myself and others, were waiting for the MCU, the sacred timeline, to connect to these multiversal branches, and we can see that they will possibly converge, maybe even in Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, which would be really cool and would leave room for a lot of explanation of how these different branch timelines work. However, we were just giving a teaser for what we suppose is Season 2 of What If, where we see Peggy finds out that Steve is still alive, since Steve had seemingly died in her timeline. But Steve is alive, and so was the Hydra Crusher, which was on this ship where at the beginning of the final episode she was fighting to go find out what these pirates are trying to steal. She finds out it's the Hydra Crutcher, and Steve is still alive, we see her smile, and that is the end of What If Season 1. No immediate and obvious connection to the MCU, to Multiverse of Madness, or to any other thing happening on the sacred timeline, the main MCU timeline that we know. We were anticipating the possibility of the Watcher going and talking to Doctor Strange, or Hayley Atwell finding her way into the real MCU, and we could actually get a real live-action Captain Carter. All of these other options that were possible, that's not what we got. We got a season 2 lean on. Which brings me to a very important question. And I'm not worried. I'm not going to sit here and call the doom of the MCU is beginning, but what are the multiversal guidelines? What are the laws of the multiverse in the MCU? Where do they fit in? How do they work? There are a lot of questions for me as a fan of the franchise, what the definite laws are for multiversal traveling and convergence in the multiverse and in the MCU, and I really do hope we get those answers in Multiverse of Madness. We have gotten different moments within these Disney Plus series, namely with maybe a little bit WandaVision, a lot of bit Loki, and now with What If, where the multiverse is being explored, and we even got the multiverse officially introduced in the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. As Doctor Strange says, we know little to nothing about it. Well, guess what? The fans know little to nothing about it as well, including the regulations, the rules, the laws, the natural bounds of multiversal traveling. And what I think we as fans definitely want to have avoided is the multiverse being a cop-out for explanations in the future. Oh, it's okay because they used the multiverse. But then on the other hand, the multiverse can't do it in this situation, and we want it to make sense. We want it to be clear, honest, and fair, so that we know what exactly it is Marvel will be doing with the multiversal time traveling, with the universe jumps, and with potential inclusions of characters down the road. We don't also want it to have zero relevance, because Hayley Atwell's Captain Carter meeting Steve Rogers doesn't really mean anything for us, because it's happening in a different universe that wasn't the universe that we are dedicated to, that we're well aware of, that we know everything that's going on. It's just some universe that was introduced in What If that had a Captain Carter who didn't have a Steve, and at the end we found out she did. I feel like the actual relevance of that is definitely demeaned by the existence of a multiverse that has no explanation, laws, guidelines, or connection to that main MCU timeline that we have been following so closely. Overall, I think it was a very visually stimulatingly fun series. I think they did a lot of really cool stuff with the animation that they chose, told some really fun storylines, and for me, that was what I was expecting and hoping. But like all Marvel fans, as we continue building up our hope for something crazy and exciting that connects to the main MCU timeline and explains the multiversal wars and continuing changing times, we didn't get that, and I won't say I'm disappointed by it, but I was certainly hoping that we would see those connections. And of course, that question that I brought in, what are the laws of multiversal time travel, and how will they affect the MCU? We do need that answer, and hopefully we will get it in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But those are my thoughts after finishing the What If series on Disney+. Hawkeye just around the corner, coming on November 24th. It's going to be a Christmas special, and it is going to overlap with a couple other projects. So hopefully it can also do very, very well. Eternals in November, and Spider-Man No Way Home in December. A very strong end of the year for Marvel as we close out 2021 and prepare for a ton of more projects coming in 2022. Thank you guys so much for watching to the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell. Don't forget to let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. I am curious always to hear what Marvel fans thought of a project, particularly a different, new Disney Plus based project. So let me know, and thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.